Good morning to all my friends and family, and welcome to Jim's 5am Club. It's Saturday morning. It looks like it's going to be a cracker of a day, an awesome Sydney autumn day. And as you can see, there's a crane, a portable mobile crane, getting set up here in the centre of the city, and it's just a massive crane. Check it out. Anyway, what I want to do today is take you on a journey. We're going to do a walk and talk, and we're going to do a book summary entitled Getting to Yes. And the author kicks off the book with a quote, an interesting quote. So I'll just head down here onto George Street and get through this as quickly as we can. So the quote is as follows. So it's all about negotiation. It's all about getting to yes, and understanding how there are differences in the way people negotiate and the way people see the world. So the author says here that people listen better if they feel that you have understood them. They tend to think that those who understand them are intelligent and sympathetic, and their opinions may be worth listening to. So if you want the other side to appreciate your interests, begin by demonstrating that you appreciate theirs. Pretty interesting. I think the one that I like the most there is that people think that by listening to them that you're super intelligent. It's amazing how we're all self-centered and everything revolves around our own particular interests. But that's a lovely quote. Just to think that people listen better if they feel that you have understood them. So as Steve Covey says, first seek to understand in order to be understood. This book here is along the same sort of lines. So a very interesting quote to kick off the book. And the author then goes on to say that the world today is much different to what it's been in the past, and the way you can see that is the way family dynamics work these days. As the author says, that families interact much differently these days, and you can see that difference in interaction by the way modern houses are designed. He also talks about the fact that decision making is very, very much different now in families. Whereas in the past, the decision making was very centralized. One person would be the decision maker and everybody else would follow. These days, all of the stakeholders have a say in decisions, and decision making is very much more distributed than centralized. So everybody basically has a say within a family, and it's interesting just to make that observation that things are no longer the same anymore. And in fact, as we said, or as we alluded to, there are differences in the way we interact and the way families make decisions. So that just by understanding that means that we need to I guess incorporate different negotiation skills in the way we get things done, even within families. So the author then kicks off the first formal point of the book, where they say that everyone that you negotiate with is a human being. whilst it sounds pretty logical, there is some reasoning behind this, because the author then says that no two people are rational in the same way. So even if you take twins, who are identical twins, they are not rational in the same way, which means that nobody is on the same page when it comes to negotiating anything. And the author then goes on to talk about the fact that everyone responds differently to the same circumstance. So whilst things may appear really easy and simple to one person, it could be complicated and very, very difficult for somebody else, because rational thought and rational discussion doesn't work when emotions are aroused, and we all are emotional, as we all know. So we need to understand that there is a difference between factual and emotional engagement, because when people are emotional, they engage fear and anger, and in those sorts of situations you need to be empathetic, and you need to step back and give the other party an opportunity to settle down and catch up. The second point that the author talks about in this book is the importance of win-win. But in order to get to a win-win situation, the author says that we need to look at options instead of the one solution. The author says the biggest problem that we face is, and this happens to all of us, is each and every one of us have a clear position or a clear outcome that we want to achieve when we're negotiating and discussing with other people. But that position is based on our selfish need, and it doesn't take other people's needs and requirements into consideration. So I'll just cut across here quickly just to see the harbour, and then head to work because it's almost 6 o'clock. So this whole thing about win-win, the author says, is what we need to do is to consider the other person in the negotiation, and just not spend our time thinking about our own needs and our own interests. It's looking like it's going to be a cracker of a dawn today. So what we mustn't do is fixate on one solution, because it doesn't work, as it only looks at one side of the problem. If you were to ask somebody to tell you who should win the Nobel Prize, obviously the question would be, well, let's list all the people or all the options first who we would consider, and then go through each one of those rationally and decide which one we want to pick. So that in itself is a good indicator in terms of what one needs to do in order to negotiate. So when you're at the negotiation table with the other persons, what is the best thing to do is to list all the potential options, regardless of how radical they are. At least you put them on the table, you get them on the table, and you first of all agree, are these all the potential options that we have available to us? And then what you do is you go through and go through each option and negotiate and try and work out which is the best option that meets both parties' needs. So the third point that come out of this book is the importance of preparing well for negotiations. The key is to prepare well and to understand the people that you're negotiating with, their context, their goals, their values, their interests, and seek a fair outcome. You know, you mustn't be selfish in what you're trying to achieve, because we've been there before. It usually doesn't work. So if you come into a negotiation and the other person feels that at least you're reasonable and you're going to be looking to try and get the best middle ground, then that will help the situation a lot better than if you're a selfish negotiator who just wants everything their own way. So the last points that the author talks about here is the importance of being face to face and turning the negotiation into a positive experience as best you can. So I think I'll leave it there because I've got to head off to work now. Thank you very much for joining me on this episode of Jim's 5am Club on this beautiful Saturday here in Sydney. I look forward to coming to you again later on in the morning with another couple of 5am clubs where we can go through and learn a few new tips, a few hacks, things that can help us get us through the morning, get us through the day. And I think I'll leave it there. So once again, Yassas, have a great day, and I'll speak to you again soon. Bye for now from Jim's 5am Club.